video for this chapter. I call this section 5.6 part 2 because in section 5.6 part 1 we did some multiplying, and now I want to show you how to do some dividing. This time we're going to divide a polynomial by a monomial. So remember using that chart thing with the algebra tiles? We're going to use it again to help us illustrate dividing. When you're dividing, we're no longer trying to fill in the chart, but we're trying to figure out what's missing as one of our factors. So here, notice I've given you one of the factors, I've given you the answer, and your job is to fill in the missing tiles. Alright? In essence, the question here says the following. I've got here 2x squared. I got here 4 negative rods, so minus 4x. And you're dividing it by what you see over here on the left, which is 2 white rods, or 2x. And the question is, what's our answer going to be? And our answer will be the stuff that we put over here. Now, can you kind of visualize what tiles you would put here? Okay, so here's an x. What I need to put over here to give you an x squared. And if you said the tile should be a white rod or an x, I agree. And thinking about over here, got the rod, I got a dark rod, so what must be here? Did you say a negative square? Similarly, a negative square. And so if you can fill that in properly, then hey, guess what? That's your answer. You've got one rod, which is just an x, and then 2 small squares, which represents negative 2. So x minus 2. Okay? Same thing for part B. Alright, this time I see here 1, 2, 3, so negative 3x squared. I see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, positive 6x. And you're this time dividing by what's on top, which is negative 3x. There's your monomial. And the question is, what goes over here on the left? That will be your answer. So once again, to get the squares, you must have rods that multiply together. If I want it to be a dark one, then one of the rods must be dark, the other one must be white. So there we go. And then to get rods, so we multiply by 1s. In this case, once again, I want the white. A dark times a dark, or a negative times a negative, gives me a white or a positive. So my answer here, just one rod, which is x, and then the minus 2. Also the same as part A. Now, I'd like you to try to now find a way to do this without drawing algebra tiles. And remember from last day we looked at these properties where if I had terms on the top and I'm dividing by one thing on the bottom, you just split them up. So A over D plus B over D plus C over D. Remember that? Well, we're going to need that and one more property from chapter 2 when we actually divided using exponents. So this is a review. See if you remember this stuff from chapter 2. 4 to the power 5 divided by 4 to the power 3. I could write this out as 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Oh, you're like, Mr. Lee, please don't do that. I agree, I don't want to. But hopefully it'll help you illustrate the answer. Remember, crossing out, or dividing out, I should say. You're left with 4 times 4, or 4 squared. So how do we simplify this? With the same base, all we need to do with the exponents are to subtract. So in this case, the base is the same. We'll subtract 9 minus 4, that's just 5, so 5 to the power 5. Same thing here, the bases are the same. We'll subtract 5 minus, oh, that's a 1, right? So 5 minus 1 is 4, so 6 to the power 4. It's the same thing with variables, okay? So as long as the variable is the same, we just subtract the exponent. So in this case, the variable base is x. 5 minus 3, that must be 2. The variable base is y. 9 minus 4, that's 5. The variable base is m. 5 minus 1 is 4. So combining these two ideas together, I'm going to ask you to turn the page, and let's see if we can now simplify some other ones. Okay. Notice in this case, it says, in the case where there is the same amount of the variable in the numerator as there is in the denominator, we just cancel out or divide out the variable. So notice this x divided by x, that just gives us 1, so this is just 5. Negative 7m divided by m, that's just negative 7. And then r divided by r, that's not 0 because you're dividing out. That actually simplifies to the number 1. Okay? Think about it. 1r, right? 1 divided by 1 is 1. So, knowing these properties, now, combining them together, let's try to divide by a monomial. I'll show you the first few. I'm going to ask you to try the rest on your own. So, example number 4, part A here, we're going to ask you to divide. And our first step is to just split this up and divide each term in the numerator by each term in the denominator. And then now this is where we need to simplify. 6 divided by 3, that gives us a 2. And what's x squared divided by x? So we subtract the exponent, 2 minus 1. That just gives us 1x, or x to the power of 1. Similarly over here now, 9 divided by 3 is 3. X divided by x, we learned above, is just 1. So their answer here is just 2x plus 3. Same thing for part B, dear friends. Go ahead and take each term in the numerator, divide it by each term in the denominator, and then go ahead and simplify. 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared divided by x is x. 15 divided by 3 is 5. X divided by x, that just disappears or cancels out or divides out, and you're left with just the y, so let's leave it like that. Okay? Don't freak out when there are 3 terms. It's the same thing. Take each of the terms in the numerator and divide it by the denominator. And then please simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X cubed divided by x, that's 3 minus 1, that's 2, so that's x squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X squared divided by x, that just becomes x. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. X divided by x, that's just 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay. I think you get the idea. So you try D and E. And then once again come back to double check your answer with mine. And I hope you are correct. If not, make the changes and then be ready to try more in class. Whoa, E looks scary, but you know what? Same ideas. You're like, wow, this got hard fast. Okay. Let's deal the numbers. 50 divided by 10, that's 5. Deal with the a's now first, okay, together. So a to the power of 5 divided by a. I'm going to subtract the exponent, so it's a to the power of 4. And then deal with the b's. B to the 7 divided by b squared. So 7 minus 2, that's 5. So this is b to the power of 5. 40 over 10 is just 4. Same thing now. Let's deal with the a's. A cubed divided by a. That's a squared. B to the power of 4 divided by b squared. That's 4 minus 2. That's just b to the power of 2. And then here, 20 divided by 10 is just 2. Same idea. A squared, and dividing that by a just gives us a. B cubed divided by b squared. We subtract the exponents. That's just 3 minus 2. So it's b to the power of 1. That's it. That's your final answer.